Warm greetings. My name is Gauri V. Menon, and I'm here to present Daring to Dream, written by Renita Ravindran. It may sound inconceivable that women of 19th century Kerala had to pay breast tax in order to cover their bosoms in public, and that it took a lower caste woman cutting off her breast in order to put an end to this barbaric tax. One of the worst taxes that ever existed in the world, known as Mulakkaram in Malayalam, was imposed by the erstwhile Travancore kingdom in the beginning of the 20th century. Nothing else could have bespoken the state of affairs of the then Kerala, especially on the case of women. Caught up in the strange hold of caste system, Kerala was a lunatic asylum, as rightly pointed out by Swami Vivekananda. The law of land was different for different castes. While the upper caste enjoyed all the supreme powers, the lower caste were even deprived of their basic rights and hence closely treated. Women, especially in the hands of mighty, suffered abuses and violence. They were merely treated as sexual objects and denied education. Having no role in family or society, they contributed very less towards societal growth. Even worse were the inhuman social customs which enslaved women, such as the Smartha Vijaram, Pullapedi, and Sati. The Smartha Vijaram was the trial of a Brahmin woman who was filed with infidelity and adultery, which did not involve the men punishing in that, and the women were either ostracized or excommunicated. Another brutal practice was Pullapedi, in which a man of a lower caste was able to defile a upper caste Nair woman. Once she was defiled, her only option was to run away from home and get adopted by the defiler or become a beggar, or it was liable that she was to be killed by her own people or sold off. This sorry state of women finds reflection in the literature of that period. The Manipravalam and Venmani movement carry traits of gender discrimination. An article that was written by poet Vellathol in the publication Lakshmi Bai in the year 1905 poses a mystifying question. How can women justify their failure in looking after their husband, citing the latter's bad behavior? In a way, it's ironic for a country who acknowledged its great women scholars since the Vedic period, worshipping female goddesses and producing great women leaders. Sen Kuriakose alias Chavra's far-sighted vision on women has to be checked against his background. In various stages of his life, he was guided and influenced by the wisdom and kindness of several women, and he indeed believed that they could play a pivotal role in the society's development. The foundation stone, the influence on mother. It is evident from Chavra's writing that his mother had a profound influence on him. He grew up treading on the spiritual path that was laid out by his spiritually minded mother. In various stanzas of Atmanatapam, Chavra writes in great detail about his mother. Mixed in her sweet milk, she regaled with words of heaven and thoughts of grace. When at midnight she rose and knelt at prayer, warding off sleep and petty dullness in the air. Never once did she use the rod to chatters, nor with a harsh touch did she smite me. When the news of her son dedicating service to the god came, Chavra's mother accepted it with a great composure and rare equipoise. Emotions wrung her heart in sooth that her son, one of two, God's own, would be the pain of parting, a wrench foreseeing. She wisely prepared the holy will to bow. Thus, Chavra must have received his first lessons in respecting women from his virtuous mother. He always described his mother who bore him as Mother on earth and Virgin Mary as the Divine Mother. While it was his mother who triggered a spiritual spark in him, it was Virgin Mary who lighted the divine path for him. It was his mother who sowed the seed of spirituality in young Chavra. She brought him up as a true devotee of Mother Mary. In Atmanatapam, he shares the words of his dear mother. She your mistress, you her serf. Beware this, my son, preserve this in your mind. Chavra himself considered as the son of Saint Teresa of Avila, who was a Carmelite nun who was canonized by Pope Gregory XV. He often sought her meditation in his prayer. He believed that the divine soul's intervention was indispensable for him to carry out the services that he was mandated to do on earth. He also had great respect for Mary Magdalene, who stood by Jesus Christ during his crucifixion. He always mentioned her as a woman of substance and strength. Perhaps it was these women who urged him to do something to liberate the women folk of this time, who was wrung in the clutches of the hands of the mighty. Women embracing sainthood is nothing new to India. In various periods of its history, India has witnessed its great women sages such as Mother Teresa, Sharada Devi and Mirabai. However organized, an indigenous monastic life for women was not common. In the 19th century, women had a little role to lead a spiritual life. It was Chavra who blazed the trail of setting up a convent for women. He writes in the chronicles of the Kunamava convent. In the land of Malayalam, although the true practice of Christian religion has existed from a very long time, there existed no monasteries or convents. People had heard of men and women practicing religious virtues, but they did not have a living example of celibacy, except for those men who chose to become priests and hence lived a life of chastity. But in the case of women, even though they wished to lead a spiritual life, they had no options because they had to accept marriage and lead a worldly women role. People were living in this sad plight for a very long time. Although the efforts for setting up this convent had the approval and blessings from higher-ups, many obstacles delayed this project. At one point of time, the venture was held up so much which led to the disappointment of Chavra. But Providence intervened in the form of Italian missionary Father Leopold. Chavra writes in the first pages of the chronicles of the Kunamava convent. A decision was made to change this convent into a seminary, and accordingly it was made the scholastic. With this, we lost all the hope and we were plunged back to the same state of former helplessness. It was at this time that R. Mupichin, the provincial delegate, Very Reverend Father Leopold Maria da Sinjus, with his powerful assistance and hard work, made this convent into existence. Father Leopold, in his short biography about Chavra, states, "It was the very much desire of Chavra to start a religious house for girls and especially to make it a safe place for the girls of the Malabar region in order to practice the true Christianity religion and to do spiritual things. On account of all the great things he has done to make his dream come true, when God willed it so, is beyond the scope of this short biography. Chavra teamed up with Father Leopold in making his vision come true. From fundraising to setting up of a convent for the nuns, both toiled tirelessly. At one point of time, Chavra fell extremely sick, but he strove towards making his dream come true, which finally did with the formation of the Congregation of Mother of Carmel or CMC at Kunamava in the year 1688. The abode of the nuns was a house of bamboo. It was a modest bamboo mat convent. The first members of the convent were Elisva Vakil, a widow, her daughter Anna, her sister Thracia, and Elisva Putengandi. Thus, Chavra was the first person to plant the seed of indigenous convent for women in Kerala. Chavra was very much particular about the inmates' reading habits. He urged them to arm themselves with the power of education. He was a voracious reader himself, and he always thought that it was only through education one could transform the world. Chavra's letter to the sisters are a testimony to this. He sent the best available books, in which some he translated it from Tamil to Malayalam, so that the nuns would spend their time in reading quality books and will not waste their time in useless conversations. He encouraged the inmates to write for the convent chronicle, take up needlework, and play musical instruments besides focusing on religious practices. The first task the nuns took up was to educate the girls of that region. The formation of the Edukantath or the boarding house in the year 1868 was another milestone step that was made in realizing this project come true. At the Edukantath, the girl students stayed in the supervision and care of these nuns. More and more women joined this initiative until this project became a social revolution in the coming years. They were taught various languages such as Malayalam, Tamil, Latin, and English. They were even taught various kinds of activities such as cooking, knitting, sewing, mathematics, music, rosary making, flower making, and catechism. By education, Chavra meant a holistic development among his students rather than mere classroom learning. Girls who completed their education here either joined the convent and served the society or they opted for a family life. As the torchbearer of educational revolution in Kerala, CMC went on to start schools for orphans and financially backward girls, then industrial training centers, orphanages, and old age homes. Another remarkable enterprise was the founding of the English medium schools to popularize the English language during the British period. By the first half of the 20th century, the CMC congregation started colleges in order to promote higher education in the country. It was in 1925 that CMC stepped into the field of healthcare. In the beginning, its members did volunteer services in different hospitals, but gradually they started many hospitals, catering their services to the poorest of the poor in different parts of the country. The organization's social service initiatives include orphanages, old age homes, and rehabilitation centers for the mentally challenged. Today, it has almost 658 convents in India and abroad, with 6,500 professed sisters and 500 postulants. It has branched over into 4 continents, mainly Europe, Asia, Africa, and America. What began as a dream in Chavra grew beyond the continents, providing shades to lakhs of needy people, thus realizing his far-sighted vision for women. Thank you.